This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
Freaking.com.
But basically, I'm planning a road trip this summer. A couple of weeks, me and my wife are going to kind of do the hippie scene and kind of just road trip out of a van. And was wondering when would be the best time to visit you guys.
Oh, that's a great question. I would recommend the events up in Keene and stuff. I would recommend the Porcupine Freedom Festival at porcfest.com. It is the Free State Project's yearly event that is happening this year. Actually, I don't know when the dates are this year. Apparently, they are not on porcfest.com yet. I believe that they have been announced. Maybe they just need to update the website. I think they're on the Porcfest Facebook page. But the Porcupine Freedom Festival goes on. This
says right here, Porcfest. That's 2010. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not right. So anyway, the Porcupine Freedom Festival is a great opportunity to come up to New Hampshire to meet with hundreds of other like-minded, liberty-oriented people. And get together, and basically it's a camping fest kind of thing, so it's a perfect event to attend if you're going to be driving a van around the country.
Well, it's typically been at the end of June somewhere.
Yeah, that's about right. And this year it's going to be a little bit longer officially. Usually, or like for the last year, it was just the weekend officially, but people typically show up. Yeah, people like Thursday through Sunday. People typically show up on Sunday or Monday the week prior, and they stay for the entire week. And
June 20th through June 26th
this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. June 20th through the 26th. Where did you get that information from, Mark?
Facebook, Porcfest 2011.
So there you go.
Yeah, that would be a great time to be up in New Hampshire. I lived up in Rochester for a few years when I was stationed over at the shipyard in Kittery, Maine. And I just love New Hampshire. My wife's never been up there, and I just love to be a part and listen to you guys on the podcast quite regularly. And, I mean, how do you handle the basic police state influences that are going on right around me every day?
How do you handle them? I'm not sure I understand what your question is.
I mean, like, say if I get pulled over a warrantless checkpoint, I mean, what would, I want to stand up and not submit, and I preach and espouse that, and thank goodness I have never been pulled over and be submitted to an illegal search of my vehicle or whatever.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, what you're asking is you're in the situation where you want to disobey, you want to non-cooperate. It's the right thing to do. But it's the morally right thing to do, but is it the pragmatically right thing to do? And of course, pragmatism has gotten us where we are, where people they'll go along to get along because it seems to be the path of least resistance. And of course, over time, in the short term it is, but over time it allows the government to continue to build the police state and to continue to get away with the abuses that they perpetrate on people. So I would suggest that if you really want to stand up, you're going to have to expect you're going to get smacked down, especially if you're living in Port Charlotte, Florida, or anywhere else where you don't have a big activist network to back you up.
And that's what you run into, and they're kind of all on power trips and stuff.
The enemy is within. I mean, enemy is not really the right term. They're just people that think they're doing the right thing and they're not. They're human beings. But the problem is here. The problem is the police state, as you pointed out. But the solution can't be accomplished alone. If you stand up, you will have your head cut off, and you will be punished, and it will be very damaging to you. So I don't know if you're going to move to New Hampshire, but certainly it sounds like you're interested. And after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, your wife might be convinced because it's a pretty persuasive place to visit. The people are awesome. It's a great time. Puke, how many of them have you been to at this point?
All 3 or 4 of them since I moved up here.
Yeah, me too.
The first one was only a weekend, but the other 3 I've been to pretty much 5 days worth or so, and it's a great time if you like camping, if you can put up with being out in the weather, But
there's also a hotel.
There is a hotel
if you want.
Let's call it a motel.
Okay,
it is a room, a building.
So you can. There's cabins to rent, although I think they're already rented out. The campsites are starting to go. So you definitely want to go to Porcfest 2011 on Facebook to get some more information about it. And I'll talk to the organizer tonight and see if
already done that.
Oh, you did, about updating the actual website?
Yeah, he's having difficulty getting through the bureaucracy of getting. He's got the page designed. It's just got to get put up.
So the bureaucratic of morass of the FSP is getting in the way, basically.
It's a volunteer organization.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so yeah.
You guys are going to be there in June?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We broadcast live from the Porcupine Freedom
Festival. It'll be a lot more exciting than seeing us, I can assure you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's not an official list of anything at this point. It's too early.
Hey! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
Rick, you had expressed some concern. You were curious about what to do regarding the this kind of impending police state, the rise of the continual rise of the police state in this country. It just keeps getting worse with more checkpoints being set up. Now in Tampa Bay, they are taking blood from people who refuse to take a breathalyzer. There's just so many examples. The TSA coming into to train stations and bus stations, the body scanners, and all this stuff. Tasers.
The fact is, Customs and Border Patrol does random stops. It will set up checkpoints and stops along the borders within 100 miles of the border in both the northern and southern border.
There's only so much you should do to stick your head up above the water, because if you're all alone and you don't have a big network of activists, you're going to just be crushed under the boot of the police state. Although that said, I think there are still some things that could be done. Just again, depends on how much risk you want to take.
I broadcast the first part of the interaction live.
You could record the interaction. You could pull out a video camera. You could have a smartphone and have quick.com on there where you're streaming live to the internet. You could announce that to the cops and say, just want to let you know I am streaming this live to the internet. And then let them ask their questions, and you don't always have to answer their questions, of course. You could always ask questions back instead of answering their questions. But again, as Mark pointed out, his experience in Port Charlotte, because we're from just north of there in Sarasota originally, was all very negative, dealing with a bunch of redneck cops. I mean, the fact is, even if you do these simple things like just asking questions or recording a scene, there's still a chance they could attack you.
Okay. Huh? Cut it off. I'm not shutting it off. Officer.
Well, you going to jail.
Excuse me? Sir, that's fine.
There's still a chance that they could steal your camera. There's still a chance that you could end up with, a broken bone or end up in a jail cell on some kind of trumped-up charge for having a crack rock that you never knew you had when they planted on you. So you never know what is going to happen when you're dealing with rogue cops, and you never know who the rogue cops are until it's too late, frequently. So I would highly recommend coming to New Hampshire for the Porcupine Freedom Festival and then making the decision as to whether or not you want to make the move up here permanently, because it makes a huge difference when you're around other like-minded people. Case in point.
Okay, so turn around. Do you hear that?
Yes, I do.
Why don't you tell your buddy there to calm down? He's losing.
Last night, after the show, Mark, you and I, we went out to Heike's birthday party. Heike's one of the local folks up here, New Hampshire natives, who's also a liberty-oriented activist, and she was having her party at a local bar. And so we showed up and enjoyed ourselves there, and people were drinking and having a good time. And, a couple hours into it, around midnight, two guys left. And I don't know if they'd been drinking or not, but they left, and they were driving away from the bar. And Keene, New Hampshire is a pretty small place, so it doesn't take too long to get anywhere. In this case, they got pulled over not far away from where the bar actually was. Since we actually have activists in this in New Hampshire that are doing various different types of activism, one of those types of activism is, kind of the behind-the-scenes technical side. So we have Porcupine 411, which allows people to call a phone number, leave a message, and then have that message distributed instantaneously to hundreds of email recipients. So I've got my smartphone. I get a message coming in at just after midnight last night that's coming from the Porc 411. I played it back. I'm still at the party at the bar, playing it back, and it's the guys who just left not long ago saying they were pulled over, and they said which street it was on. And so I got my jacket on and, announced what was going on to everybody that was there. We all headed out of the bar, and approximately 10 liberty-oriented people left that bar at that moment, walked over, ran. In some cases, I ran over there, had my camera out. About four of the 10 had cameras, so we had 4 cameras rolling on this scene. We came up on a scene where there were already 3 cop cars. So if they've got 3 cop cars out, they're planning to do something. Like something's up. This isn't your average ticketing situation.
Okay. Before you drive, are you going to submit to field sobriety tests?
I'm not driving. You just asked for a valid license.
You know what I asked for it for.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You just asked for a valid license.
You I know.
Driving in circles around Central Keene, I hurl both insults, angry and mean, against the activists from Free Keene, who wander around thinking as though they were free, and even though they aren't hurting me, I will hate them hatefully, urging their appearance in the penitentiary, although that expense would be charged to me. I'm starting to feel somewhat confusedly.